Hi, honeys. It's Michelle. I'm here today to do my August wrap up. It's been a month. It has been a month, you guys. I have been having a really hard time with insomnia for about 2 weeks now. It just happens. I'm a very intuitive person, which sounds like a blessing, but sometimes it feels like a curse because I don't know what I'm feeling. All that I know is that a big change is coming in my life, or my state's life, or my city's life, or the world's life, or my country's life. I don't know. All I know is change is coming. And when I feel this way, it's very unsettling. I can't stop feeling this weird buzzing feeling. I know it sounds bizarre, but I'm just being honest with you. So I can't sleep. And that's part of why I love reading, is when this happens, which off and on throughout my life it does, I just read at night because I can't quiet my brain down. And sometimes it takes hours and hours of reading to quiet my brain down enough to fall asleep. And I'm not sure how long it'll go on for, but this is who I am. I think that's what makes us all so beautiful, is we're all different, right? Anyway, that's not what you came here for. You came here to hear about what books I read in August. But the reason I mentioned that was I ended up reading a lot more than I thought I would. The first 2 weeks of the month, I was in a reading slump. I read 2 books in the first 2 weeks, which for me is quite slow. I usually read 6 to 8 books a month. And I ended up still reading the amount I normally read, which that means I was really have my foot on that page turning gas pedal the last 2 weeks of the month. Now, the first 2 books I already talked about in my mid-month reading check-in. So I will put a link to that video down in the description box, and I will also put it up here at the end of this video. So you're welcome to go see that if you want to hear about either of these books more in depth. And I think I'm going to do that for at least a couple more months, see how it sticks doing the mid-month check-in. It sounds like reading the input, a lot of you really liked the mid-month check-in, and also me talking a little bit more about life updates and stuff like that afterwards. So I'm going to try that formula a few more times, see how it goes. And hi, Marty. And then we'll go from there. I just scooted you over and down just a little bit so that you can see Marty a little better. The first book that I read was Blood Like Magic. Oh, here, I don't want it. I'm not going to cover you up. They need to see your handsome face, right? Okay. My cutie. He has been burning the midnight oil with me every night. He is my insomnia buddy. He will stay up with me until I fall asleep every time. Anyway, this book is about a teenage witch named Voya, and she lives in Toronto, Canada, and she is part of a all-black community of witches, and she wants to find out what her gift is, like all witches would. She's waiting for her ancestor to let her know what her gift is, and when she does find out, she is shocked to find out that she is supposed to destroy her one true love, or her first true love. I think it was her first true love. And there's this app that tells people who their soulmate is. So she decides to try to find her soulmate, have a relationship with them, and then destroy them so that she can get her gift. But she also finds out, sorry if I'm all over the place, but she also finds out that if she doesn't do this, her entire family will all lose their gifts. And they rely on their gifts to provide for the family, make money. It's kind of a big deal, right? Or a very big deal, really. So that's what this book is about. I really enjoyed it. It's the first book in a series, and it's just a really fun YA book that I recommend. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was really good. It was emotional at times, and really enjoyed it. If you want to hear more about it, tune into that video that I'm going to put up here at the end of this video. Was Not a Happy Family by Shari Lapena. This book is about a very rich couple who has their children over for Easter, and an argument ensues, and that night they end up murdered. And it looks like one of the kids did it. Sorry, Marty is just going nuts down here. Don't scratch my notes. It's very important, or it becomes very clear that it's one of their kids that did it, or that's what it looks like anyway. And they have 2 daughters and a son, and it's a really enjoyable book that goes down quite the trail of who did do it. I figured it out about halfway through, but I was still enjoying reading it because I kept questioning myself. I gave it 4 stars though instead of 5, just because I did not like the ending. I don't have to like an ending if it makes sense why the author chose to do it that way, but I just didn't like this ending. It felt like all of a sudden it was kind of rushed, and it took a weird turn, didn't explain it, and then just left it kind of open in a weird way. But I don't think there's a sequel, so it was kind of an odd ending. That's why it just was off-putting for me. But a lot of people didn't mind it. I've been seeing a lot of 5-star reviews on this as well, so I definitely recommend giving this book a chance. Look at this beautiful, creepy cover with somebody in the windows. This seems to be a theme this month for me, is books with covers with people in windows. The next book that I read is The Murderous Haircut of the Mayor of Bel Air by Phillip Mottaz. This book is wonderful. It's a book about a barber named Danica who sees what people are thinking when she touches the back of their head. So she makes a great hairstylist because she can see what people are visioning in their minds when she asks them, what kind of haircut do you want? She ends up touching the back of one of her customers' heads when he's in her chair, and she sees him looking at a dead body, and it strikes her interest. She wants to find out, who's this dead body? Is he a killer? What's going on? So she sets out to find out what's going on. She also finds out that there's a huge reward for finding out who killed this person. So that's what makes her become a sleuth. And she's a very amateur sleuth. She makes a lot of mistakes, which makes it more enjoyable. I love a protagonist who is super relatable and human. And that is this protagonist here. He is self-published, so many props to him for doing that. I can't even imagine what it would be like to try to self-publish a book. So I've got a lot of respect for this author, but I really genuinely did love this book. I can't wait for the next one to come out. I did just do a video about this book as well that was specifically about this book. I will also put a link to that down in the description box and put a link to that video up here at the end of this video. Okay, if you watched my TBR video that I did for this month, I was asking, do you think I will finally get through Peter Pan? And the answer is sort of. I got just over halfway through it and just decided to DNF it. And I'm sure I'm breaking some hearts into a million pieces right now, and I'm sorry. I know a lot of people really do love this book. It just was not my cup of tea. I personally found it, I think the Disney movie ruined it for me. I loved the Disney version that was out when I was a little girl. I thought it was wonderful. And I think it ruined the book for me, because the book, it started out beautifully written and wonderful and whimsical and hopeful, and I thought, okay, here we go. And then it got very dark. Hey, don't scratch my notes, please. That's my book journal. You can't. Okay. And then it got very dark and disturbing and sad. And I know Disney changes a lot of stories um, and makes them a lot sweeter or nicer for the movie. But this particular one just ripped out my heart. My child within just couldn't handle it. It was too much for me. So I decided to DNF it. I was a little bit, I think I was about a little more than halfway through, and I just decided that I had to stop. Um, and I found it to be very boring actually in certain spots. It's very different from the movie, that's for sure. But I'm not saying you shouldn't give it a chance. I think that a classic like this, everybody should give a chance and see what you think for yourself. I just didn't like it. So, yeah. So because of that, I'm not giving it any stars. I made a decision a while ago. I'm not giving stars to books I didn't finish. I don't think that's fair if I haven't read the whole thing. Maybe the last 20 pages was so good that it would have been a 5-star read. I just don't know. And sadly, I never will. Next, I read The Family Plot by Megan Collins, and she is very quickly sliding her way into being one of my favorite authors. I had a book of the month selection of hers that had been sitting on my TBR stack for a long time for really no reason. I mean, there was a reason. I was reading the Sue Grafton alphabet series and I was trying to get through it, and all of my book of the months and all the books I bought just kept piling up for over 6 months. And then I moved, and then I started picking up these books and reading them again. Anyway, I finally read her first book, and her first book. I really loved it. Then I decided, okay, I'm going to go read her second book. Loved that one too. They were both 5-star reads for me. And then now I have read her third book, which just came out. It's called The Family Plot. Look, there's somebody in the window again in a creepy house. I'm just saying, it's the month for that for me. This book is about a woman named Delilah who grew up in a true crime loving family. Her and all of her siblings are named after true crime people. I don't want to say characters because these are people that actually had bad things happen to them. But they grew up on an island in a house where they were homeschooled, and their parents, they taught them other things, but a lot of what they taught them was true crime kind of stuff. And Delilah left and didn't come back after graduating. And now her father has passed away. So they go to bury her dad, and they find out that her brother, who's been missing for 10 years, is already buried in the family plot with an axe in the back of his head. And so that obviously makes them all start trying to figure out what happened to her brother, who killed him, why, so on and so forth. I just love books that have somebody going back home after years of being away and not wanting to go back. There's something kind of seductive in an eerie and creepy way about that scenario to me. Delilah has a manipulative mom. She's got a cold dad. She's got an acting brother. She's got a cunning sister, a voyeur neighbor, a gentle giant of a groundskeeper, and a best friend that is very loyal. And I just found this book to be very haunting and delightful. There's not a whole lot of depth to some of the characters, but I feel like that was intentional on the author's part. If you look at the family and the family dynamics, I don't know how deep these people would really be if you knew them in real life. So that's my stance on that. But I just thought the book was phenomenal. I really loved it. I definitely recommend it if you love a good thriller. It was hard to put down. There's a bunch of references in the book that are really fun. And I gave this book 5 stars, by the way. I loved it. I'm hoping that she comes out with another book soon. I hope. I really love her writing. It is, she writes in a very deep and haunting way that I just find very addictive. Oh, shit. You're not going to believe what I did. Oh. Okay, I've been making my coffee with regular coffee and then a little bit of syrup that has like a pumpkin spice flavor to it, and no sugar because I'm putting the syrup in there, and then some creamer, and then I put a couple dashes of cinnamon in there, ground cinnamon. Well, I made some coffee and I'm dying to drink it, and I just went to have a sip and realized that I grabbed cayenne pepper, not cinnamon. And I am disgusted. It turns out cayenne pepper is not good in coffee. Okay. Moving on. The next book that I read, and I did read this from cover to cover, was The Golden Girls Cookbook. I'm so excited. I love The Golden Girls. If you don't typically watch my main channel, which I do have one, I'll put a link to that too down in the description box. I have referenced many times over the years how much I love The Golden Girls. They are an obsession of mine, and I did recently get this cookbook. So I read it from cover to cover. I thought it was wonderful. I don't want to give it any stars yet because I haven't actually tried any of the recipes, but I'm very organized with the way I read. I've got all the different recipes I want to try right up here in the front, and I have bought the ingredients for 2 of the recipes. So I'm going to start trying different recipes and see what I think. I usually try at least 4 or 5 recipes before I decide if I like a cookbook. Sorry, the flavor of that cayenne pepper in my coffee. Sorry. I can't get the flavor out of my throat. So the pages are all edged in the palm leaves, that the fronds that they have with the Golden Girls, and each section is for a particular Golden Girl. So the first section is Dorothy. So there's a beautiful picture of Miss Dorothy and a little write-up about her and why she's such a lovable character. And they've got a little quote here in the front. Rose says, "Where are you going?" And Dorothy says, "To either get ice cream or commit a felony. I'll decide in the car." You can just see her saying that too. Well, we have seen her saying that if you watch the show. But so her section is a little bit more of a healthier section. And some of the pages in the dessert section have these cute little cutouts of cheesecake, of course. And then in the section for Rose, it's Scandinavian food. For the section with Blanche, oh, here's some Scandinavian little layout there of. For Blanche, it's Southern cooking. And then, so cute. And then for Sophia, as you can imagine, a lot of it is Italian food. But it looks like good Italian, like old school Italian food. And I'm very excited to try the recipes in here. It was really fun to read this. Okay, what next? Rumor. This is my book journal sitting here next to me where I keep my notes on books in case you're wondering what it was. I figured since Marty keeps walking by and trying to scratch it, I just set it up here. The next book that I read was The Rumor by Elin Hilderbrand. This is a very light beach read. So it was exactly what I was looking for. If you're looking for a light beach read it is just a nice, quick, get through it kind of read, I definitely recommend this. I think it'd be fun to read on a plane or on vacation or what have you. I think it's a good palate cleansing book as well. It is very soap opera-esque, and I thought some of the situations were kind of unrealistic, and I thought the characters were very selfish and childish and not very pleasant. I wasn't really on anyone's team. I wasn't really rooting for anyone. I thought they were mostly not very good people. Otherwise, I thought it was a good book. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I do recommend it if you're looking for a fun beach read. And the last book that I read was Grave Surprise by Charlaine Harris. In this book, Harper is called to go to a college that has a cemetery at the college, like on the college grounds. They have an old cemetery, and they're asking her to test her gifts there for a class that they have on, I think it was paranormal stuff or whatever. And so the professor has the information about who's buried there and how they died and all that, and nobody else at all has it. You can't find it online or in any libraries or anything. So she's sent there to prove that she really can see the last moments of someone's life. And so she shows up and she does. But here's the problem. A ways through it, she steps on a grave and realizes that there's more than one person buried under there, and one of them has only been buried there a short time, and it just so happens to be a girl whose case she was working on, I think it was about a year beforehand. So a bunch of drama ensues trying to figure out what was this girl doing in this, I don't want to say antique cemetery, but you know what I mean, like an old cemetery. And so that's what the book is about, trying to figure out who did this. She's not really supposed to leave town, and because obviously the cops have a lot of questions for her, and so does the family. It was a good, solid book. It was a fun read. I got through it very quickly. I give it 4 stars. There was a few parts that, well, I didn't like the ending. What else is new? Do I ever like the ending of books? I didn't like who did it, and I didn't like why. I just felt like it could have had a different outcome. The other thing is, she's got a stepbrother who travels with her, and it's starting to feel very weird to me, their relationship. They feel too close to me, too close for comfort. And there's a lot of hugging and holding hands and just spending 24 hours a day together. It just feels like there's not anything inappropriate going on, but it feels like there might be eventually, or I'm probably just overreacting, but it just feels uncomfortable to me. And it feels like I feel so bad for her stepbrother because he's giving up his entire life to help her with her endeavors. And I don't think that's fair to him. So we'll see what happens. It's a 4-book series. This is book number 2, so I'm halfway through, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still loved it though because it's Charlaine Harris. There's 2 books on my TBR that I did not get to. That is the Fear Street Super Chiller by R.L. Stine, called Party Summer. I don't think I'm going to worry about this one until next year. To me, this is a summer book, and in my mind, I don't care what the weatherman says. It's fall now, okay? It is fall. Thank you. And the other one was The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I did start reading this book last night, but it will definitely be a September book read for me. I'm on page 50, and I'm really enjoying it so far, but I'm only on page 50, so we'll see. It was hard to put down, though. It did not help my insomnia last night. I thought I'll read a couple pages and go to sleep. No. Nope, I read about 30 pages and then I went to sleep, so it kept me up a little later than I wanted. Well, let me know if you've read any of these, what you thought. I want to know. Also, let me know if you're thinking about reading any of these or if you have any book recommendations for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. I love you. Bye.